Alright, rhythm is how we play with time. So that's the time aspect of music. And maybe you've heard or seen this symbol, you've heard of time signatures. This is a time signature. Now the upper number tells us how many beats there are in one measure. A measure of music, another measure, another measure. The lower one tells us which note value is one beat. Which note value we use for one beat. So, what do we have? A whole note is just a circle in a specific spot, and it lasts the entire measure. If we were to divide that up into two equal notes, we got whole note, we got two half notes with these stems, half note. If I were to divide that one up into two equal notes, we get two quarter notes. Okay. If I divide that up into two, oh, guess what? It's eighth. It's eighth note. I can't spell to save my life. Eighth notes. Then, last one to know is 16 notes. They don't have one bar or beam connecting the stems, but two. And then 32nd notes would have another one. And 64th would have another one. But that's already pretty rare. You don't see 64th notes very often. You don't see 32nds all that often, really. Usually it's quarters, 8th, 16th notes. That's most common. Okay. We can do the same thing with rests. Rests, well, yeah, because sometimes a note has to stop. It needs to be quiet, at least for that one instrument, or maybe all the music has to stop. It's quiet for a defined amount of time until the next thing comes. So we have to define how much time needs to be left out. So we got a whole rest and a half rest. Both are rectangular bars, except the half rest is standing on the line and the whole rest is hanging from the line. So the whole rest is a bit more passive and chill, while the half rest is a bit more active, so it's less rest. That's one way to remember it. The quarter is really shitty thing to draw. 8th, 16th, and I think you can see where we're getting with this. A 32nd would be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, that will be a 64th. So they just keep getting bigger and bigger as the rests get smaller and smaller. Okay, so that's how to draw those. Now, this means we got 4 beats. Okay, how are we going to notate a beat? Well, each beat is a quarter note, 1/4. So we got 4 fourths. Right? So we would say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we're gonna notate the rhythm. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That means we just got 1. Okay, we got 2, but we need 3 and. And since they're divided equally, dun, 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 dun. It's all equal equal division. It's not 1, 2, 3, and 4. That will be different. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So because it's equal, they're just 8 notes. This is the most important thing to realize about rhythm right now, because a time signature gives us a grid. You know, like, let's say we got this sort of grid of, let's say, seconds for now. And we need to tell our musician, whoever's going to read what we notate, or our future selves, which is why we often use notation. Say we want to tell them when to play notes. Well, we could say you need to play it here, and here, and then here. So that's 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and that's 1, a quarter note. You can put the stem on the other side if the note is above this line. Then you have to put the stem on the other side in order to keep the stems within the notation. 2, but this one lasts a quarter note plus another eighth note. It's 3 eighth notes. How do we notate that? Well, for that we have this little dot. This dot adds half the value of the notes to the note. That sounds really weird when you hear it first. It adds half the value. Well, if it would double the value, we would just use a different note. And if it would add anything other than half, it would only be more complicated. In this case, instead of a note that lasts as long as 2 eighth notes, we get a note that lasts as long as 3 eighth notes, which is what this is. This section here. So now we've got that. Then we got another one of those. Okay. However, there's a rule you need to know in order to notate things and keep them readable. Usually, the most important thing is that it's easy to read. But usually, when you're playing something off of a paper, you're reading it while playing it, and you need to be quick. You don't have time to study it and check out all the lines. You just need to play it as it's there. You want it to represent what the music feels like. So, one thing that's important in a 4/4 time signature is that the 1 and 3 are down beats, or they're strong beats. You could consider them to be either. That one as well. While 2 and 4 are up beats or weak beats. You could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's gonna feel like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is why it feels so much better to not clap 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but to clap 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It makes the music upbeat. It's kind of boring to clap on the 1 and the 3. So you would want to clap on 2 and 4 because it just feels nice. It's more danceable. Because it's less stable, it's actually a way to create some rhythmic tension, although this is still a very low amount of tension for rhythm, but it's rhythmic tension, basically. So, what do we do with this? Well, the strong beats, the downbeats, need to be visible in your notation. Okay? We can see the 1. It's here. 1. We can see the 2. But we can't see the 3. So how do we fix this? Well, now we've added an 8th note. If there's no other 8th note, you can draw a stem with a sort of flag like that. And then the 16th notes, you can do 2 flags. we said this is a quarter note, and it's lengthened, or we add an eighth note to it. We make it longer by the value of an eighth note. The reason we do that is because we want to show our player where the next downbeat is, where the strong beat is. So he can feel that this is 3 and he doesn't expect it on the 4, and, or he ends up being on the 4 and thinking, oh, I should have played that note a while ago. He sees it coming. Or she, don't get me wrong. So, that's important to know about rhythm. I've got one more thing to discuss with you guys about this whole strong and weak beats thing, which is pretty important if you're thinking about time in music. This goes for all divisions of 2. So when we get 2 eighth notes and we add that and again and again and again, we would also say that these are strong, weak, strong, weak. So consider 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It sounds very stable and grounded, and there's nothing danceable or tasteful about it, in my personal opinion. Instead, if you would do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, it's much more groovy, it's much more danceable. Because you're accentuating the weak beat, you're creating tension. And that tension is nice, it feels nice. Okay, it also goes with 16th notes, which means that this one is the strongest. This one is rather strong, but compared to this, it's weak, because these would also be where the 8th notes land, and we would say it's strong and weak if they're 8th notes, but if we just punch some extra notes in between, we got some really weak rhythmic moments there. These rhythmic moments, if you accentuate them, you would say you're syncopating. These are syncopations. This is what makes funk music, for example. So funk, I'm really accentuating many of these notes, of these weak rhythmic moments, in order to create some rhythmic tension, to add some rhythmic color. It will be so stable and, in that sense, resolved and not so tasteful if you do da 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 da. It's so stable. It's kind of boring. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, because there are plenty of styles that don't want the rhythm to add the flavor and the tension, but want the harmony to do so, or the melody, or the lyrics, or the sound, or there are all sorts of things. But just in terms of pure rhythmic tension, accentuating the weak beats and the weak notes would be more colorful in terms of rhythm. So, that's what I've got for you about rhythm.